Hi, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with me here today.
Thanks, Teresa.
Teresa, thanks for having us on.
So today we're talking about the important topic of DCS migration. Now, you're both well-known in the industry, and I know you're modest and you don't like me saying that, but that's too bad. And you're involved in helping users migrate to a modern DCS from legacy systems. So in your experience, why is this an important topic for your customers?
I'll take that, Scott, if you don't mind. So great question, Teresa. I would just, at a high level answer that by saying that in general, a lot of the DCS market that we serve around North America has platforms dating back as far as the 80s. So we see this across chemical, life science, refining, any major process industry. And at the same time, over the lifespan of that platform, technology has really advanced significantly. I think we can all attest. So when you have the key platform that is responsible for whether you make or lose money as a business, and that platform is significantly outdated, it leads to problems, and it brings us to this discussion with process users on a daily basis that are just trying to get more out of their platform in terms of productivity, safety, efficiency. It's just a very common discussion that we have on a regular basis.
So with that in mind, when you're working with your customers and they're dealing with all of this, what do you see driving these investments?
A lot of factors come to mind. I'd say if I boil it down to the most common, we certainly see obsolete components. That's a relatively common one, just obsolete or difficult to acquire components for a legacy system. And that, obviously leads to a major gap in support for their platform, which ultimately can lead to unnecessary downtime or just increased costs in general. That's pretty common. I'd say we also see on a regular basis your just general lack of connectivity to other systems throughout that facility. So whether it's the MES or the lab management system, or just any newer technology, newer platform that's been installed since that DCS platform was initially put in, you see those connectivity challenges, and that affects these users' ability to get data and then also do as much as they can with it, with key production data, the ability to make decisions and truly get meaning out of that information. And then I'd say another very common that just continues to accelerate every day is this general awareness of cybersecurity vulnerabilities. And that's no surprise to anybody. This touches the DCS as well as the rest of the plant. And I think everybody understands that if they read the news.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of challenges they're facing, just trying to do well in business, and the technology is really important. So clearly, you've helped a lot of process users migrate to their DCS platforms, and that's part of why I wanted to chat with you today. So can you share some of your experiences? So tell me, for example, if you would, about how you've done this.
Yeah,
Sure.
Scott,
Yeah, I can take that. So we have a repeatable process where we help a customer move step by step, from the project justification all the way through migrating there to a new modern DCS and the support afterwards. And that process, we ensure that nothing's missed, right? So if you're an operator or a process engineer in a plant, for you, a migration, that migrating your whole control system, it's a once in a lifetime experience. You may do 2 of these, but we do these every day. We'll do 50 migrations a year. And so based on all of that data and doing this over and over again, we built a process and toolkits and checklists to make sure it's done efficiently. And we do just enough engineering to minimize the risk along the way. Right. And so we didn't make this framework up either. It's based on front-end loading, or the FEL process. Right. And that process, the goals of that process are to make sure that you successfully navigate your corporate funding toll gates and reduce the risk along the way. So that's our process.
So Scott, it sounds like it's kind of a standardized process that's tailored to each user's needs. Can you tell us what type of industries typically use this?
Sure. It came out of our experience with chemical and petrochemical and refining companies, working with those large companies, but it actually applies to most process industries. We're seeing increased usage in mining, pulp and paper, and even food and beverage, where DCS Next is not always their standard approach. But in general, we can meet a customer where they are. If they have a rigid or a structured capital planning process, our process fits into that and gives them the information that they need to justify the project and move it along the way. If they're a smaller company and they don't have a capital planning process, then we can provide it and we can help them spend their money effectively.
And now for a word from our sponsor. DCS Next is a comprehensive DCS migration solution developed from years of experience implementing all major platforms in a wide variety of industries. This proven migration process includes a thorough evaluation of the challenge, plan development, and a phased approach to execution and ongoing support for continued improvement. This ensures a migration doesn't just replicate existing functionality, it combines new technology with a proven methodology to improve safety, operational effectiveness, and profitability. To learn more, visit DCSNext.com. And Nick, can you give us an example of this methodology in action to help us better understand how the process works?
Yeah, absolutely. So quite a few recent examples come to mind. I would share with you I'll just say a large chemical producer, without sharing their name, but this was a large chemical plant that had approached us with very little detail or documentation for their existing platform. And that's not uncommon. This is probably the norm for what we experience in general. And but this facility knew that they needed to modernize their operations. They were not remaining as competitive in their market, and they were not hitting their growth targets globally. So the need was there. The documentation wasn't in the detail, and that makes it very difficult to even know where to begin in the project. So in this example, I'm thinking of we were able to help this facility not only develop the initial feasibility and the ROI and the project design, but we led them through the quantifying and the project funding process within their own organization. We helped them with the vendor analysis. They had to evaluate multiple DCS platforms, and ultimately, they needed to decide what was going to achieve their desired outcomes. What platform was going to be the best solution for their specific needs. So leading them through that process really put us in a wonderful position. The knowledge that we gained of their process, of their plant, of their goals, allowed us to ultimately deliver that turnkey migration once all of their decisions had been made. So by having that experience and that kind of partnership through the design phase, it ultimately led to us delivering a wonderful experience on time, actually under budget from our initial estimates, and that's always a good thing.
So that makes sense. It helps us understand the overview of how a real process works for a user. So I understand Rockwell Automation acquired Maverick Technologies a few years ago. Talk to me about what that means to Rockwell and to our industry.
Yeah, I hear this a lot. I get this question quite often. In 2016, Rockwell Automation did acquire Maverick Technologies. I would say that the reason behind that, going back to 2016, was Rockwell's understanding and just realizing that if they were going to optimize the value they provided to the typical DCS user, they needed to be able to meet those users where they were, meaning on a variety of legacy DCS platforms. So that led to the Maverick acquisition. Maverick was a company who was servicing and delivering multiple DCS solutions for years leading up to that, and they continue to this day as a Rockwell company. So it allows us as a greater organization to, like I said, meet that customer where they are, be extremely competent and proficient on the old platform, And regardless of whatever new platform this user may be migrating to, that knowledge of the starting point in the base system just allows us to do that much better through the project execution and delivering on whatever desired outcomes they have.
Okay, that's actually very impressive. So to wrap it up here, with all your experience, what's one key takeaway you would give manufacturers about their legacy DCS platform?
Sure. The key to success in a migration, right, is early planning so that you can minimize the risk. So just like you wouldn't build a house without a blueprint, you need a plan to conduct a successful migration to an old system and get the most out of that new system. And our DCSNext process can be that plan.
Great. And you mentioned the DCSNext process. We'll have a link to that for more information in our episode description. So we are out of time. I wish we could talk more, but thank you both for this great conversation. It was fun talking with you and very enlightening.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you. Pleasure was ours.
Yep.